Hello Fanatics, welcome back to Diamond Painting Fanatics. I am Cindy and I'm here with a true crime. Yay! I am working on this painting with my fairy one. If you tuned in, I was working on the water fairy and I didn't want to do the typical water, so I did actually find a fairy true crime, and I thought there's no way I can find a unicorn one. I found one. The perpetrator in this true crime is Ira Einhorn, and I think that's how you say it. That's what I'm going with. But Einhorn means unicorn in German, hence he's the unicorn killer. So, without any further ado, grab your project, come join me as we discuss. I'm just going to call him Ira that's his name, but yeah, I'm going to start with his early life. So please do grab your project, come join me, and we will find out what this depraved individual did to warrant being talked about in my true crime series. So Ira was born into a middle-class Jewish family. As a student at the University of Pennsylvania, where he received his undergraduate degree in English in 1961, before returning to complete some graduate work in the discipline in 1963. He became active in ecological groups and was part of the counterculture, anti-establishment and anti-war movements of the 1960s and the 1970s. Ira was a speaker at the first Earth Day event in Philadelphia in 1970 and later claimed to have been instrumental in creating and launching the event, but the event organisers refute his account. Ira served as an instructor of English at Temple University during the 1964 to 1965 academic year, although his contract was not renewed after he conceded his, quote, contempt for the academic world, end quote, and boasted proffering, quote, straight answers about the delights and dangers, end quote, of cannabis and LSD to students in an interview. He also was a resident fellow at the Harvard Institute of Politics during the autumn of 1978 semester. Ira had a 5-year relationship with Holly Maddox. I believe she was originally from Tyler in Texas. In 1977, Holly broke up with Ira and went to New York City, where she became involved with Saul Lapidus. On September the 9th, 1977, Holly returned to the Philadelphia apartment she had previously shared with Ira to collect her belongings, which Ira had reportedly threatened to throw out into the street as trash. However, Holly was never seen again. Several weeks later, the Philadelphia police questioned Ira about her disappearance. He claimed that Holly had gone out to the neighbourhood co-op to buy some tofu and sprouts and never returned. Ira's initial alibi came into question when his neighbours began complaining about a foul smell coming from his apartment, which in turn aroused the suspicion of authorities. "18 months later, on March the 28th, 1979, Holly's decomposing corpse was found by police in a trunk stored in Ira's closet. After finding Holly, a police officer reportedly said to Ira, quote, "It looks like we found Holly," end quote. To which he reportedly replied, quote, "You found what you found," end quote. Ira's lawyer, Arlene Spector, negotiated bail of $40,000. He was released from custody after posting a bond of $4,000, equivalent to 10%. This was paid by Barbara Bronfman, a Montreal socialite who married into the wealthy Bronfman family and met Ira through a shared interest into the paranormal. Side note, I actually feel upset reading this, but putting that aside for 1 second. Ira has an interest in the paranormal, yet he's just stuffed his ex-girlfriend into a trunk and put it in his wardrobe. What? Wow. Oh dear. During Ira's flight, he was again aided by Bronfman, who continued to support him financially until 1988, when she read Stephen Levy's damning book on Ira, The Unicorn's Secret. In 1981, just days before his murder trial was to begin, Ira skipped bail and fled to Europe. He lived there for the next 17 years and married a Swedish woman named Annika. In Pennsylvania, as Ira had already been arraigned, the state convicted him in absence of Holly's murder in 1996. Ira was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now they've sentenced him to life in prison, and I'm hoping life means life in this instance, not so many years. But they've sentenced him and he's not even there. He's gone off and got married and living his life. In 1997, Ira was arrested in Champagne in France, where he had been living under the name Eugene Mallon. The extradition process, however, proved more complex than originally planned. Under the extradition treaty between France and the United States, either country may refuse extradition under certain circumstances, and Ira used multiple avenues to avoid extradition. Although Ira was not sentenced to death, his defence attorneys argued that he would face the death penalty if he were returned to the United States. France, like many countries that abolished the death penalty, does not extradite defendants to jurisdictions that retain the death penalty without assurance that it will neither be sought or applied. Pennsylvania authorities pointed out that when the murder occurred, the state did not practice the death penalty, and so Ira could not be executed because the state and the federal constitutions forbid ex post facto law. Ira's next strategy involved French law and the European Court of Human Rights, which require a new trial when the defendant was tried in absence and unable to present his defence. On this basis, the Court of Appeals of Bordeaux rejected the extradition request. Now, this is annoying me now because he knew he was going to get found guilty. He's already been given life in prison without the possibility of parole because he couldn't be bothered to show up and wing it or lie or put a case forward, and now he's had 17 years of freedom that he should have been incarcerated, and now he's arguing, trying to get out of being sent back home. This is really annoying me because at the centre of all of this drama is Holly. Following the court's decision, 35 members of Congress sent a letter to the French president to ask for Ira's extradition. However, under France's doctrine of the separation of powers, which was invoked in this case, the president cannot give orders to courts and does not intervene in extradition. Therefore, in 1998, to secure Ira's extradition, the Pennsylvania legislature passed a bill nicknamed, quote, the Enhert Law, allowing defendants convicted in absence to request another trial. In another delay tactic, Ira's attorneys criticised the bill as unconstitutional and tried to get the French courts to once again deny extradition on the grounds that the law would be inapplicable. However, the French court ruled itself unable to evaluate the foreign laws. Another point of friction with the United States was that the court freed Ira under police supervision, as French laws put restrictions on remand, the imprisonment of suspects awaiting trial. Ira then became the focus of intense surveillance by French police. The matter went before Prime Minister Lionel Jospin. Extraditions, after having been approved by courts, must be ordered by the executive. The French Green Party stated that Ira should not be extradited until it was certain that the, quote, Enhert law could not be reversed. Jospin rejected the claims and issued an extradition decree. Yay! Ira then litigated against the decree before the council in France, which ruled against him. Again, the council declined to review the foreign law. He then attempted to slit his own throat to avoid imprisonment, and eventually litigated his case before the European Courts of Human Rights, which also ruled against him. On July the 20th in 2001, Ira was extradited to the United States. Yay! It goes to show, I mean, this is years in the making, and the police and Holly's family must be at their wits' end, but persevering, not giving up, keep on going. 2001, he's back. Oh dear. Ira, taking the stand in his own defence, claimed that Holly was murdered by CIA agents who attempted to frame him due to his, quote, investigations into the Cold War and psychotronics. After 2 hours of deliberation, the jury convicted Ira Enhert on the 17th of October 2002, concluding the month-long trial. The following day, he was sentenced to a mandatory life term without the possibility of parole. Ira began serving his sentence at Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution. In November 2006, Ira's sentence was unanimously affirmed by the Superior Court of Pennsylvania. On April the 3rd, 2020, Ira died in the Pennsylvania SCI Laurel Highlands. His death was reported to be of natural causes. Now, it's a shame. I'm mad on one hand because he served what? They convicted him in 2002, and in 2020 he died. So he didn't serve long enough, but he did die in prison, which is a nice little bow on this. But he had years and years of freedom and got married, and I do wonder, reading this, what the wife must have thought, because obviously she had no clue that he was a murderer. But there you go, that is Ira Samuel Enhert, who was born on the 15th of May in 1940 and died on April the 3rd, 2020, known as the Unicorn Killer. Poor Holly. Yeah. And the fact that she went out for tofu and sprouts and never came home, but was murdered by CIA agents. It seems all very far-fetched, and you know, he was 79 when he died. Yeah, very, very sad case. I feel very, very sad for Holly Maddox, and my heart goes out to her family. Justice was finally served in some small way, but obviously that will not be of much comfort. However, he's now 6 feet under and died in prison. So there you go, guys. Thank you so much for joining me in today's episode. Yeah, the Unicorn Killer. Who would have thought there was a unicorn killer out there? And all because of his surname, no less. Thank you for keeping me company. I really do appreciate it. Please do, if you are not already, hit that subscribe button and join me on my true crime journey, my diamond painting journey, and my journey through life. I would love to have you as part of my Fanatic family. And I shall see you very soon with another true crime case. This one my son brought to me, funnily enough. So I'm going to dive into him, and yeah, you'll get to hear about that very, very soon. Stay safe out there. Bye.